Greetings, my magnificent friends. Welcome back to Tea with Sue. I want to confess something. I'm going through a breakup. This is a big breakup with a companion that I've had for most of my life, probably since I was about 6 months old. So we're going to have a trial separation here. Who or what am I breaking up with? I'm going to break up with guilt. As I've been going through the Letting Go book by David Hawkins, each week I've had a wave of new emotions that have wanted to kind of swamp my boat. And so I've been feeling them, I've been acknowledging them, and I've been feeling them, and I've been letting them go. Well, it was so interesting at the beginning of the week. I'm thinking, okay, I dealt with anger and resentment and waves of fear and so on. So what's next? And guilt just rose to the surface. Now, David Hawkins talks about guilt as kind of a subset of fear. It's part of fear. But the difference, it's not fear in the sense of, wow, there's something life-threatening coming at me, or that's a very scary thing. It's a fear of wrongness. It's a fear of being or doing something or not doing something where you feel as if you deserve to be punished. All right. So guilt is an emotion that was programmed into us from our earliest days. It was a way of, supposedly from parents and authority figures, of teaching us to do the right thing, because there was this belief that, and still is this belief, that if we weren't dealt with harshly, if we didn't unequivocally know the difference between right and wrong, then we were going to turn out to be little savages, that we would never fit into society and do the right thing on our own and so on. Well, of course, that's not true. We're born innocent. And as innocent beings, I watch my granddaughters who are little, 2.5, and I see them do these kindnesses to one another that I know are just inherent in them. Oh, do they do things to one another that aren't kind? Oh yeah, of course. They're kids, they're learning, and so on. But the guilt, that when I talk about guilt and when I examine my own guilt, I'm so convinced that it's a very destructive kind of emotion, and one that we need to divorce ourselves from as quickly as we can. So this week I've been experimenting with just kind of breaking up with guilt, noticing, first of all, how often I feel guilty about stuff. Now, I don't know, do you go through this? Are you finding that guilt, it doesn't seem to matter whether you're doing the right thing or not doing the right thing, or you're on time or not on time, whether you're happy or sad, or guilt is there just like this constant companion on your shoulder that that sabotages the joy of life. It just takes away from. So here's a short example. So maybe I'm ecstatic about the way my life is going, and I've had a grand day, and I phone a friend, and I'm just going on and on about bubbling over about how great my day was, and how lucky I feel to be alive, and I'm going on and on and on. And my friend has had one of those days from hell. And immediately I'm going, oh no. And the guilt sets in. I'm feeling bad because I'm happy and she's not. And oh boy, that so it and of course, from her perspective, she was happy that I was having a good day, because that was good. It lifted her up and it helped her feel better. But on the other hand, because guilt seeped right in without me even inviting it or being aware of it. I didn't feel as much pleasure in my day anymore. All of a sudden, I felt guilty that she was having such a hard time. Well, I can't do anything about what she was going through, but I felt it nonetheless. So we want to, I think it's worth pursuing this awareness of how guilt just sneaks right in and catches us off guard and leaches out any of the good feelings that we have. Even when we're having a good time, there's this well, I should. So you know that you've tapped into guilt when you're into the shoulda, woulda, coulda kind of a mindset where your thoughts are ranging around, well, I should have done better, or I didn't do that, and I was supposed to. And so all of the have to, shoulds, well, we should all over ourselves. That's guilt. That's guilt big time. Who says we should? If we didn't do it, we didn't do it for whatever reasons. And and of course, when we're young, it gets we get hammered away at with guilt over and over and over. And one of our parents' big questions that leads directly into guilt is, well, why did you do that? Or why didn't you do that? And well, because we don't have a reason for it. So then, because of the judgment, oh, that was bad, that was wrong. I'm not exactly sure why it was bad or wrong. I just know that based on the look in their face and the tone of their voice and what they've just said, oops, I'm in trouble. And punishment quickly follows. Now, it may not be punishment from them. And if it isn't, it quickly turns to self-punishment. So we beat ourselves up on the inside to the point where, I don't know about you, but I have these jewel-handled whips that I have in a special, well, I don't even, for many, many years, they weren't even in a case because I would use them so often to self-flagellate because I wasn't measuring up. I didn't do it good enough, or I didn't do it at all, or I should have paid more attention and I didn't. And these thoughts just roil around in our minds, and you go, stop the bus. I want to get off. So let's just breathe for a moment. It's Tea with Sue. After all, it's Friday. It's a glorious day. You're magnificent. I'm magnificent. And as magnificent beings, we deserve to tell guilt to go away, to stop showing up. Now, let me give you a little scenario of many years ago when I was teaching in the corporate arena. I took a little workshop on how to train adult learners. So what the process was. So why you did certain things a certain way and why you didn't do certain things a certain way. So the box was laid out that, and I wish I remember who laid this out. It might have been Stephen Covey, but I'm not sure if my memory serves me correctly. So if you know, then you can let me know. Just comment below, and then I'm sure. So here was the box of four squares, and the first box was labeled unconscious incompetent. So when somebody is approaching a brand new task, initially they know so little that they don't even know that they don't know. So that's where we all start. That when we first are born, we don't know that we don't know that there are other people around us. Like, we're totally unaware of that thing. And we also don't know that we don't know how to do stuff. It's just we're totally unconscious about that. So when we're presented with a new task, that's where we start from. We don't know that we don't know. Well, then as the task is presented to us and someone shows us or explains it or demonstrates it, tells us about it, then, so a little kid, well, you can put your own shoes on, because after, as a mother, you've bent over for 94,000 times and you're just flat out tired and your child is old enough to learn how to put on their own shoes. And they're kind of going, well, I didn't even know that I could do that. And well, how do you do that? I don't know. So they're coming from unconscious incompetent. They have no skills and they don't know that they don't know how to do it. So then you show them 54,000 times. And at some point, they move from, I didn't know that I didn't know, to, okay, yeah, I know I don't know how to do that. I've tried it a bunch of times and it's not working. So they move from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. I actually know I don't know how to do this. Now, at that point, it is imperative if you're working with adults, and I suspect it's the same when you're working with kids, that you don't discipline them because it'll shut down their learning process. Kids love to learn. They're curious. And we as adults maintain that position because the little kid inside us never goes away, right? So we're curious. Well, how does that work exactly? And so then we move to unconscious competence. Incompetence. I don't. Wait a minute. Let me back up here. We're in the second box. Conscious incompetence. I know I don't know how to do that. So recently, somebody had told me, well, Sue, you could put one of those virtual backgrounds behind you when you're doing Zoom so that if you wanted to change and something different, you could do that. And I said, oh, well, I don't know how to do that. And they said, oh, well, just download a virtual background. And so, well, I didn't even know how to do that. And so I was very aware that I was incompetent. I had no clue how to do that. And so I tried it. I managed to download the virtual background. And then I didn't know what to do with it. I said, okay. And I felt stupid because, well, I got that far, but now what do I do with it? Where's it supposed to go? And there's all these buttons to push and I don't know what to do next. So after I got over my feeling of less than because, oh, so guilt, right? But you should know how to do this. Come on now. You've done all kinds of things that are way more complicated than this. How come you can't do that? And I'm beat. Well, once I got past it, no, come on now. That's not right. That's not fair. You don't know how to do this. So, and somebody does. So why don't you ask somebody? So I asked a friend the other day, I said, well, I know about these virtual backgrounds and I know how to download them, but I don't know what to do with them after that. Like, what are you supposed to do next? And so he walked me through and he says, well, you know that bar on the bottom of Zoom? We'll push this button and it says virtual background. And then you just click on that. And oh, well, that's pretty simple. And so I followed the instructions and sure enough, I had a virtual background. Well, I didn't like it because when I move, it does odd things and hands disappear and I move around on the camera. So I thought, well, I don't really want a virtual background, but now I know how to do it. So I gave myself a pat on the back for relinquishing the guilt and saying that's ridiculous. Don't go there. But you can trust the fact that if you're training someone, you're helping them learn something new, they're going to feel a certain amount of guilt and shame accompanied by this feeling of incompetence. And they're very aware of it. So if you tell them, well, you're just stupid, you're not doing that right, and you discipline them at that point as they're trying to learn, you're going to shut down the learning process from them. And then other feelings from their point of view are going to rise up. You're going to feel frustrated and upset and annoyed that they're not learning the way you're trying to teach them. And they're going to feel resentful because they don't know and they want to know, but you're sabotaging their learning when you call them names or get frustrated or show your anger or whatever. So it's just not appropriate when you're teaching somebody something new. So now we'll assume that after a period of practice, and so what's appropriate when someone is learning is you praise the parts that they did well and then redirect them on the parts that they didn't do well. So with the shoes, with kids, well, how many kids put the left shoe on the right foot and the right shoe on the left foot? Typical. They don't understand that there's a difference between the shape of your left shoe and the shape of your right shoe. So they put them on, quotes, the wrong feet. And of course, kids are fond of saying, but Mom, these are the only feet I have. How can I have them on the wrong feet? So anyway, so that then, wow, you got your shoes on by yourself. Good for you. And if it's appropriate, you might at that point say, now, next time, let's change them around because notice that the shape is different for each one. And then they start to notice that's different. But maybe that's good enough. They got them on, you can get out the door. You don't have to bend over and help them anymore. So you praise them. And then when they got it, but not quite exactly, then you show them, okay, here's the next thing you need to know. And then they try that. So it's a case of telling them, of showing them, of praising them, and redirecting when it's not quite in order or the way that it needs to be done. So in the natural progression of things, then people will move from conscious incompetence to conscious competence. So every time they go to do that task for a period of time, they get so that they are aware of the steps and they can follow them correctly. And they say, now I know how to do that. Yes. And they feel good about that. Now, if it's a task that they repeat continually, eventually they move to unconscious competence, where they just know. They just do it because it's habitual now and the routine is set. And I mean, do you think about putting your car in drive when you get, after you turn on the engine and you're ready to go? No, you just put it in drive because that's the next step. And so it's just an unconscious thing, signaling when you turn right or left, and you just do it automatically because that's the way you were trained to do it. But of course, guilt sneaks in if you forget to turn on your signal light and you hear a horn blaring from behind. So see what I mean about guilt? It just sneaks in whenever we're not paying attention, or even if we are paying attention, it likes to just, well, time to take a break. Time to take a break from guilt. It's not only emotionally draining, but it can be physically destructive because that threat of punishment taps into our fight or flight mechanism in the body. And if you've heard me before talk about stress, then you know that our immune system shuts down when we're in fight or flight. Well, if we're constantly in a state of guilt accompanied by fear or anger or any other emotion, then it sabotages our ability to stay well. And eventually, when our immune fighters deplete and deplete and deplete and deplete, then we're ripe for disease to set in. That's why you can separate disease by dis-ease. So I'm feeling uncomfortable about this, and it sets up a sense of uneasiness or dis-ease ease. So this week, I'm going to challenge you to notice how often guilt just has its say and has its way with you. And then what you can do if you want to relinquish the guilt, because in dealing with negative emotions, often it's easiest to deal with the guilt first. And then, I'm feeling resentful and I'm feeling guilty for feeling resentful. All right, let's clear away the guilt. Okay, I have a right to feel resentful as a human being. It's just part of the human condition. Something ticked me off and I'm feeling resentful. So we deal with the guilt and say, no, you can, I see what you're trying to do here. I have a right to feel guilty. I have a right to feel resentful. Off you go now, guilt. And then you turn your attention to dealing with the resentment. And once you allow that feeling of resentment to sit in your body, you actually feel it and allow it to be, eventually it will go away. It'll just float away on its own. And the second you turn your attention to, oh, now I'm going to go water my plants, or oh, I'm going to go and make a cup of tea, or whatever, then the resentment's gone and you've dealt with it and you've let it go. So play with that this week. Have some fun with it, because guilt has been in your face for all your life. And if you don't want it to be there, you're magnificent enough that you can do what you need to do to let it go. I'm letting that guilt go. I'm letting that guilt go. And pretty soon it stops at you, and life is better. Life is better. I promise you. I felt much more at peace this week when I was working with this idea of guilt as a destructive emotion for us. Because as human beings, we want to do the right thing. We're wired for compassion and love and all of the beautiful emotions that are out there. We just need to allow ourselves to experience them. And guilt doesn't want us to do that for whatever reason. I don't know what guilt's agenda is, but anyway, that's my thing for today. So thank you so much for joining Tea with Sue today. If you've missed some of the other episodes, you can certainly subscribe to my YouTube channel or to the Global Strong YouTube channel and pick up the other episodes that are there for you. Please like and share this video if you think it will be worthwhile for other people. In the meantime, have an absolutely glorious weekend. You know you can do it because you're that magnificent. It's a long weekend here in Canada. The weather's supposed to be great. And so enjoy the sun and enjoy you, because you are that magnificent. See you next time.